What's up everyone, Tom here from Pizarro's Pieces, and this is the first video that I'm going to be doing over the next few months with interviews with fans and collectors from around the UK. And today we've got a very special guest, wrestling fan, Big C. How you doing?
No, good to be here, Tom. Yeah, I'm doing well. Loving the channel so far, mate. So glad to be the first one here.
No worries, thanks for coming. First of all, before we get onto the wrestling talk, me and Big C went down to Forbidden Planet in central London earlier, and I picked up one of these. Now this is the Funko Mini Mystery WWE Series 2, I think. So there's a possibility to get 12 characters. We've had a little bet earlier as to who we're going to get. I'm hoping for a Sting, an Austin, or perhaps Bret Hart. But you think otherwise, didn't you?
Well, I think they're going to be looking to please the kids on this one. So you're going to have hundreds of John Cenas, available, and very few of the old time guys. So I'm going to go with John Cena.
Well, I hope not. Anyway, if it's someone that I'm particularly not into, then I'm willing to give it away. First person to comment who wants it, I'll post it out to you free of charge. So let's have a look, see what we got.
Yeah, you definitely need to pay the postage to guarantee you can get rid of it.
Let's have a look.
What have we got there?
Is it Cena? Nope, it's Dusty Rhodes.
Dusty Rhodes. That's not a bad one.
There you go, people. A little Dusty Rhodes. Not really someone for me, to be honest with you. So if anyone wants that, feel free to comment underneath, and I'll send it out for you free of charge. There you go.
You get a few takers on that.
That's my bit for the day. As you can see here as well, we've got some of Big C's collection, but we're going to go in more detail in future videos in regards to the Hasbro and Mattel and the Jakks figures. But today we're just going to talk about wrestling. So while we're on the subject, Chris, what are your earliest memories of WWF and WWE as it is now?
Well, a bit like yourself, Tom, being born in '84, about the same age as you. Got into the Thundercats in the late '80s. That was the first sort of toys, sort of merchandise and cartoons I got into. That lasted for a couple of years. Then along come Turtles by 1990, and I think everyone in 1990 was turtle mad. I remember Christmas that year. Had every sort of turtle toy you can imagine. But by the time '91 come around, obviously I was out of Turtles, and that was when wrestling come around. The Hasbros obviously become available when I think late '90, early '91, and by that summer, I'd built up a collection of Hasbro figures. I had the toys. I just loved it. To be honest with you, I was an absolute fanatic. I had two brothers of similar age. We go down in years steps, so it was absolute carnage in my house. To the point where we almost got banned.
I was the same. Obviously, I got an older brother, so. If my mum's watching this now, apologies mum, but we broke her bed numerous times, suplexing and stuff like that. And that was even in the late 90s and early 2000s when obviously the Attitude Era was about. So what are your sort of earliest TV memories in regards to like pay-per-views?
Yeah, earliest TV memories, I think WrestleMania 7 was the first pay-per-view.
What year was that?
1991.
Okay.
So WrestleMania 7, the main event was Hogan Slaughter. I'm a massive fan of the Ultimate Warrior, and he'd lost the title in that Royal Rumble, but I wasn't watching by then. I was 7 in 1991. So yeah, from WrestleMania 7 onwards, SummerSlam 91, Survivor Series 91, it just went through until about 1994. I wouldn't miss a pay-per-view, and I was all over it, and yeah.
And obviously, we were talking earlier off camera, and we said about going and actually seeing wrestling live. And I went to UK Rampage, which was 91.
Yeah.
And you, of course, went to SummerSlam in 92 at Wembley.
Yeah.
So what was that like?
Yeah, it was amazing. I mean, it was such a massive event. The only time that pay-per-views left the North American continent. So it was really good to be there. 80,000 people. Ultimate Warrior main event against Macho Man. Disappointing finish. We were laughing earlier about the British Bulldog winning the Intercontinental title, and then when they got back to America, taking the title back off him.
A couple of weeks
that was just to please us.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So obviously, me and my brother was massive on wrestling as well. Yeah. We had all the Hasbro figures, the rings, and everything. Like you said, it came after Thundercats, He-Man, and Teenage Turtles. But as time went on, and obviously people like Hulk Hogan was a huge face in the wrestling business, and he left for WCW in '93. Do you think from '93 onwards, 94 onwards, we obviously started seeing a change in the WWF, didn't we?
Yeah, I think 93 and 94 were really bad years for the company, WWE, WWF. Their pay-per-view numbers dropped. A lot of big, old school guys like Hulk Hogan and Randy Savage had always been there, who carried the company. They were all gone. That 93, 94, maybe 95 period was when you had quite bad stuff in WWF, and WCW wasn't quite taken off yet. So you had two really bad wrestling products in the mid 90s, which catered for kids. So I completely dropped away from the scene, really.
Well, we was talking about the sort of the mid 90s earlier, and obviously Hogan had jumped to WCW. WCW obviously had Sting. Yeah. WWF had The Undertaker, Shawn Michaels coming through, and like you said, there was a few bad years. But in regards to sort of gimmicks and that, we were saying earlier, what are some of the worst, do you think, in WWF?
Like I say, everyone had to have a job. Yeah. By the mid 90s, Vincent Mann, had it in his head that you had to be something. You had to be a tax man, you had to be a repo man, you had to be a clown.
You obviously had the Mountie, you had the big boss, you had policeman and all that.
It was all going that, and even as a kid, 10, 11 years old, I was looking at that stuff, and I was, it was getting a little bit boring for me.
Yeah.
They did dentists, didn't they? They did Isaac Yankem.
Which you guys will know now as Kane, obviously. Yeah,
that was his first, sort of proper release into the company, and that's what I've got to say. That's probably one of the worst gimmicks.
But while we're on the subject of gimmicks, we can't. The WWF, as bad as they were, we can't deny WCW, and one of the worst in history has got to be the Shockmaster.
Yeah.
For you guys out there, if you're a big fan of the wrestling business in general, and you don't know about the Shockmaster, do us a favour, after you've watched this video, put it in YouTube and watch it. It's got to be one of the funniest moments, if not the funniest moment.
And I think what you've got to do is, try and listen to it with some sort of headphones on, because it's hard to pick up the reactions of a couple of the other wrestlers that are there.
So the British Bulldog, Sid Vicious or Sid Justice was there, Booker T.
It was live. There was nothing they could do.
It's every time I watch it, I'm in tears. It only lasts a minute and a half.
Yeah.
It's so funny. It's hilarious.
It's the perfect comedy moment.
It is, yeah. So, like we said, if you've not seen that, then definitely have a little watch after. It'll make you laugh. And then obviously, as the years went on, 97, probably about 97, 98, when obviously Austin 316 became big, The Rock, the beginning of the Attitude Era, I think wrestling has started coming back.
I like you say, Tom, I left in the mid 90s. By 97, it was all kicking off. I remember a geezer at school just saying to me, have you seen wrestling lately? And I was like, no. And they said, this guy Stone Cold Steve Austin on it, you have to watch it. And I remember just watching it and become instantly hooked on it again. So now, this was about 97, I would have been about 13, 14 then. So wrestling caught me as a kid, and it was a phase I went through as a kid. And I completely forgot all about it for 3 or 4 years. And then as soon as I become a teenager, it had me right back in again.
Well, I was the same. I think, to be honest with you, I had exactly the same situation. I had a friend who was... in them days, obviously VHS, and he was taping it, and he was like, I've got to get back and I've got to record this. I was like, record what? And I was the same. About 93, I'd shut off from wrestling, and then it was about 97. I think the whole Bret Hart getting screwed was just kind of happened. Shawn Michaels was massive in the business. Austin had just come on and became big after King of the Ring. The Rock, or Rocky Maivia, would become The Rock. To come through, and then you'd have the cliques like D-Generation X, Nation of Domination, and it had become huge again. Obviously, in the late 90s, you had WCW becoming quite big with Nitro, and they had Thunder, and the WWF had released SmackDown as a second show, and you had the likes of Goldberg coming through. Now, a lot of people, me included, and my brother, and obviously in the UK, Nitro was on an hour before Raw.
It was on, I think it was 9, wasn't it? 9 o'clock Nitro started till 11.
So it was on for an hour, then Raw came on at 10. Right. And obviously in them days there wasn't recordable boxes. You switched from one to the other, or you had one recording on video. What are your thoughts? I know you're massive on WWF, WWE. What are your thoughts on WCW, and did you watch it?
Yeah, WCW at that time, because there were so many, like for nostalgia reasons, they were very clever, where they nicked so many of the guys I loved as a kid. To see them now on that side, I think it tested everyone's loyalties. I mean, I'd watched the first hour of Nitro in 97, 98. But for me, it always seemed like, and let's get this straight, it overtook WWE.
For a little while,
for nearly 2 years, they were beating them on TV. Vince McMahon, they were funded by a billionaire, and Vince McMahon, was having to try and keep that company afloat at times. I mean, they nearly went under a few times.
Yeah, I know. There was
it got to a point where you thought, who else are they going to take off the WWE wrestling wise?
But do you think WCW? I believe, in my own opinion, that WCW may have messed up a little bit in regards to the talent that they had there. And the talent that they was using, they was relying on guys like Lex Luger, Hulk Hogan, Randy Savage, and the NWO. And the T-shirt I'm wearing, they obviously literally took over WCW and the TV. But you had guys like Eddie Guerrero, Rey Mysterio, Chris Jericho, Chris Benoit.
The bad thing was the cruiserweights, were basically the only entertaining thing wrestling wise to watch in WCW. The NWO had run its course. So after the first 18 months, 2 years, the NWO storyline was all they really had. Outside of that, I mean, it got to one point where the whole company was part of the NWO. And
I know.
Outside of that idea, they had so many big names, they were paying so much money, and they didn't know what to do with them. Now, why wasn't Bret Hart in the ring doing his thing and wrestling? Against the Hogans, why weren't these matches billed? Why weren't these huge matches? And they didn't know what to do. And for me, although WCW might have been, had the money to spend and took all the stars of WWE, WWE was always for me the premium wrestling brand.
Well, they had the guys behind the curtains, didn't they? The guys who were creating the creative talent basically behind the curtains. Yeah. And a lot of people do believe that for WCW it went wrong with one man in particular. Eric Bischoff has got to play a big part in what happened.
But he also plays a big part in the success.
Yeah, he does. Yeah.
He took him to the top of the mountain and then he kicked him off. That's what people have got to remember.
They say one defining moment was when, because WCW used to do live on air, they used to tell the people that was watching Nitro what was going on Raw. Yeah. And one mention was of course Mick Foley when Mankind won the title. Yeah. And apparently at that point, something silly like 500,000 people switched over to Raw.
He'd been getting away with it for a little while, and at first when he first started doing it, and I think WCW had an argument in the early days of him doing it. They had a better product, but towards the end, he was just basically getting viewers, and that they never ever beat WWE again in the ratings after that night. That was the end of the run when he did that.
So he has to take a big.
Yeah, but then I still think you got to look at people like Vince Russo.
Yes.
Who under Vince McMahon's guidance realised he had a little bit of genius in him and he controlled him to get the best out of him, and then he jumped ship. I think in '99. And he became the writer for WCW, and everyone thought, this is WCW, are now going to have better storylines.
I can remember some of the Nitros were really bad.
He was billed as the success behind Vince McMahon's Attitude Era, and it just simply shows that when he went to WCW, it was all Vince McMahon really behind it, and he played a big part in taking them further down the toilet. I mean, they had a Viagra on a pole match. They had Buff Bagwell's mum on a hydraulic fork match.
Yeah, no, there was some stupid, silly storylines, wasn't there?
But once they started chasing WWE and they were chasing things like the Stone Cold Vince McMahon feud, they were trying to go to the levels WWE were going to, but WWE had a way of pulling it off, and WCW just looked desperate, desperately trying to hang on to the market that they thought, the wrestling fans wanted to see.
And ultimately, in the end, obviously, Vince ended up buying WCW. So.
Yeah, I mean, some of the wrestlers didn't even know until that night when, they were going out to wrestle, and Shane McMahon, I think it was, or Vince, someone was on the on the big screen they had there announcing.
Shane was at Nitro, wasn't he?
Announcing, and that's something as a wrestling fan, that's something that you'd never thought you'd ever see.
But there's a lot of good talent as well there that might have. Not everyone jumped ship to the WWF or the WWE. Was it known as WWE then, or was it?
No, WWE 2002, 2003.
So WCW was bought in around
2001.
2001, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
And then obviously the same happened with ECW.
Yeah.
And obviously it became apparent that Vince McMahon was dominating the world of wrestling. So
it was going that way. The whole thing was set up that there was only room for one. Wrestling's such a
it could have been so different. WCW.
Yeah, I mean,
WCW,
if Vince McMahon didn't hang on with all he had in the mid-90s, there'd be no WWF today. And because WCW was backed by a TV company, effectively, ratings were everything to a TV company.
Yeah.
There's no saying that there'd be any major national wrestling promotion left. If WWE had gone out of business and they decided because of the low ratings to pull the plug on WCW, what would we have now? We could have something completely new, but you know.
Well, then obviously a few years later, TNA came round, and personally, I know a bit about TNA.
Yeah.
I know, was it Jeff Jarrett was one of the people that
Jeff
started
Jarrett
it.
and his dad were the founders.
And again, it's a similar situation to WCW. They started taking talent that. We don't want to say that was just use the word washed up, but people that had kind of had their time in WWE and. I'm hearing now that TNA are a little
trouble.
bit,
The thing with TNA is, for me, you can pay to go into Disneyland, and you can walk into that as part of your entrance ticket.
Okay.
At certain times of the day, you can go and watch the wrestling shows there in Florida, Orlando. It might be Universal Studios, sorry, not Disney. Thing is, with that, how big? Staying in one location
that holds how many people
every show. I know they do the odd tour where they'll go around and do a few shows, but ultimately it's a pretty sad state of affairs that the WWE has so little competition. Because I love the WWE, and that's where my loyalties lie. But you saw how good the product was in the late 90s at one time when you had two companies going head to head. And the levels they were having to go to beat each other, that was good for the wrestling fans.
Yeah. So after the whole WCW ECW buyout, so the 2002, I started to lose a little bit of interest, and I was a big collector of the figures. As you know, I had the Hasbro figures as a kid. And I was collecting the Jakks figures. I had quite a big collection in the late 90s up until probably sort of mid 2000s. And for me, it started. The Attitude Era was sort of waning off a little bit. Some of the bigger names were starting to do more bigger things, like The Rock, for example, who's now become a superstar in the film industry. And again, I think it took a turn where it's just sort of started going a little bit wrong again. In a sense.
I mean, by the mid 2000s, certainly, I stopped watching it. Week to week. I'd stopped watching pay-per-views. And I haven't really gone back to that. My focus is that every time they seem to go back to PG or family friendly, the family friendly direction, you lose a chunk of your fan base. And I think I fell away when they started to get a bit cleaner, and that whole Attitude Era started to finish. But wrestling, that period of the early 2000s back to the 90s and late 80s even, although I started watching in 91, I love the 80s stuff.
Well, you can obviously watch it all now, can't you, on YouTube?
I've got the network.
To the WWE network.
Many an evening, my woman thinks I'm mad. It'll be 3 o'clock in the morning. She'll be asleep in bed, and I'm laying next to her watching Survivor Series 91.
But we sat here before, and we've watched old Survivor Series. There's nothing more, and we was talking about it as well, and talking about gimmicks and that. In from 90 up until sort of 94, and some of the guys that the WWF had at that time. You put a mic in front of them, and I don't think there was many who couldn't work a mic. And 80% of these guys were good in the ring as well. We was talking about even guys like like the Warlord, Barbarian, up to the Honky Tonk Man, Randy Savage, Big Boss Man. All these guys were just in front of a camera was great. And now I put the WWE on now. And I just can't see. I just can't see the talent. Some talent in the ring, but outside the ring.
I keep tabs. Like, I've got the network, like I say. I keep tabs on it. I'm not massively watch. I could tell you who 90% of the roster is. If you showed me a picture of them. But it's getting better. A couple of years ago, it was unwatchable. Every time I did watch it, it wasn't very good. They are starting to now build some stars. You've got people like AJ Styles is there now. Which can only be a good thing. Sting come back a little while ago.
Finn Balor as well, aren't they?
Yeah, I mean, they've got all these exciting people. They've got NXT, which is huge now, and that's basically like it's a third brand really. You got Raw, SmackDown, and NXT. And NXT is basically like the feeding platform, you know, where the new wrestlers come in and you know they build them up and then they release them into the SmackDown and Raw brands. But some of those wrestlers are stars in their own right now. And NXT, arguably, some people might say is probably
it's a separate thing.
Yeah, it's become a separate thing, and it's become so popular. And there's arguments that it's better than some of the product that you see on the main two rosters.
They're the main things.
And for me, that's a real way to build stars to then release through WWE, because the way it has been the last 10 years is WWE get the stars, create the stars, and you see them, you know, in the same ring for the same company. At least with NXT, they're building. It's almost like they're building separate superstars, and then you get to see almost like if you saw back in the day a guy coming from WCW walking into WWE. They're building NXT stars to almost have that effect
that big
when they go in. Yeah, so it's like they're being built somewhere else, although it is still being done by the same.
So we've had a long old chat about, you know, from pretty much the late 80s up until to the present, but on sort of individual wrestling basis, we've had a little chat about this off camera as well in regards to guys who we think that the WWF or perhaps WCW as well didn't, not say used right, but maybe underachieved in their careers. Now I've mentioned to you obviously Kurt Hennig, which is Mr. Perfect, who technically was probably one of the best wrestlers in the 90s. Only ever really took it to Intercontinental Championship level and never beyond, and I believe he should have been given a chance in the main runs. We know that Hogan was, you know, running a lot of the show, and if it wasn't Hogan it was the Warrior or Savage. There was 3 or 4 big names. Who do you think, what other guys do you think then perhaps weren't, you know, given a great chance, and even in the Attitude Era, guys that were technically good wrestlers?
Well, I think the Attitude Era was, and even in the early 90s, late 80s, whatever part of that wrestling, apart from, you know, like I say, the dark period of the mid 90s, the rosters were full of people. Everyone was being given a go, and I think everyone went out there and you know was performing to the best of their abilities. I just think they were a couple of golden ages. I think there's not one thing I could say that I would change in terms of, you know, pushes and that for wrestlers in the Attitude Era or the early 90s. I think they had big rosters. Everyone was decent. Everyone was popular and over with the fans. The wrestling business made a lot of money in them days. So
who do you think? Okay, who do you think technically then is who technically 2 or 3 wrestlers you think were the best or are the best, might still be active?
I think the best 3 technical wrestlers in my opinion would be Bret Hart, Shawn Michaels, and probably a good shout, Mr. Perfect. Yeah. I
think more, obviously there's some of the older ones. I think more modern. I think Chris Benoit was technically a good wrestler.
Yeah.
Kurt Angle's another one.
Yeah. Like I say, they weren't.
They didn't do it for you like the others.
Not really. You know, Kurt Angle was an entertaining guy, and I enjoyed watching Kurt Angle matches. And he was he's a really technical guy. I mean, he's a former Olympic champion and stuff. But he didn't blow me away with the things he could do in the ring and how fluid.
Like Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels.
I mean, you watch any Shawn Michaels Bret Hart match, especially the Iron Man match, which I think was WrestleMania 10. They went for 60 minutes plus extra time, and it's seamless. They couldn't sit in a room and organise that match. You know, you couldn't remember it all. It was just all done, you know, in the ring. For me, technically, that's what wrestling's all about. The Attitude Era, though, Tom, wasn't about the technical. No,
I think it was a lot of it was just the chaos of the
chaos. Yeah,
just the craziness of the Generation X.
I mean, it's a funny story. I remember seeing when I finished with wrestling in about 93, 94. Hunter Hearst Helmsley, Triple H had just come in, and I thought, you know,
he'd come in as the guy. What was he like?
He was like some snobby, you know, like rich Hunter guy.
He fought the Ultimate Warrior, didn't he?
Yeah, he got flattened in like 10 seconds.
I remember it.
Ultimate Warrior got up from a pedigree straight away.
Yeah, I do remember it.
He was like, and I just thought, you know, guy you instantly are supposed to hate. You know, I just thought, you know, look at this guy. You know, you'd want to see him get beaten every match. Left wrestling, like I've said many times now, 3 or 4 years. Went back to like 97, 98, 3 or 4 years later, and I was like, who the fuck is this guy? I couldn't explain it. He'd just become a total lunatic, with Shawn Michaels. You didn't recognise him. He was now called Triple H, and they were involved in sexual stuff.
Yeah, it was crazy. Everything. It was crazy.
Yeah.
All right then. Well, look, that's all good stuff there. So a couple more questions before I wrap it up.
Yeah.
First off, is who would you like to see as maybe a cameo or potentially come back in the Rumble, which is obviously next month. There's a lot of names floating around, isn't there? And even as just sort of cameo roles, we've had people like Diesel in the past.
Yeah.
And, Honky Tonk Man and stuff. And even as a wrestler to maybe potentially come back full time, and they're talking about Kurt Angle.
Yeah.
Potentially coming back and ending his career with WWE.
Yeah.
Who would you perhaps like to see?
It's a difficult one because a lot of the people that are on my list are probably no longer with us.
Yeah, a lot of them are gone. Yeah.
It's a difficult one. It's a shame about Stone Cold's injuries.
Yeah.
Because it'd be brilliant to see him get back in there and be able to do his thing properly.
A lot of people would I'm led to believe Goldberg's in it, is he? I think
Goldberg's still in it.
Yeah.
Goldberg's he's got one of those contracts where I think it's like temporary. He can make appearances, and
he would have been a good one, I think, to have made. Obviously, he's come back now and he's fought Lesnar, and they've tried to wipe out the nonsense that happened.
Yeah.
What was it, 12, 13 years ago now? I think when he fought Lesnar in that pretty awful match.
Yeah.
That would have been a good one. But I'd like to see Angle. I've seen some people talking about people returning from injuries. I think Wade Barrett was one that's been mentioned. He's constantly on the injury list.
Yeah, and he's been released.
Oh, has he been released?
He's been released now. He's not in it.
Oh, I didn't realise.
He's actually been released, which is a shame because I think sometimes with certain guys, like you like them, you'd like to see them do well,
and then they just.
But what do you do with them? How do you take them to that next level? Because you can only hang around the mid card without being a superstar for so long,
and then
and then you've had your time, you've had your opportunity to try and change that, and
if it ain't working, ultimately Vince ends up bombing you. That's what
exactly.
Happens,
and the trouble is, these wrestlers nowadays, no one's got any leverage over them. You can't go to a WCW anymore. You can't go to an ECW.
And like you said, TNA are having their problems at the minute. There's a few others coming through. I've heard that Rey Mysterio and a few others are at the is it Lucha Underground? There's
but I've heard Rey Mysterio's coming back.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Oh,
okay. So
there's a lot of with the internet now,
there's a lot of rumours going, but I have heard that he's going to return to WWE because he was involved in killing someone in Spain, Mexico.
Oh really? I didn't.
In the ring, he did a move and obviously got the guy in the back of the head wrong and collapsed, and he died in the ring.
I didn't know that. So you're obviously up to date with it. I'm sort of away from it. I sort of stick to 2005 and before that. I tried not to watch anything after that. So last question I'm going to ask you is, and the big one.
Yeah.
Who's your favourite? Your one and only.
Well, I've said to you before, like
you can only choose one. You can't choose 2 or 3.
I'll give a little bit of background on my reasoning. Personally, I like to break down into two categories. I think there's always the people you like watching in the ring because that's a big part of it. I love the storylines that go with it. I love the backstage silliness. I love the people running in and ruining matches. I love that side of it. But in the ring ability and to watch a match, I'd have to say Shawn Michaels. If I was to say overall, in terms of a whole package of someone to get behind that I absolutely love and for nostalgic reasons, then I'm going to say the Ultimate Warrior.
Ultimate Warrior for entertainment reasons, I think definitely. Yeah. It's just had so much energy, didn't he?
I mean, as a kid, I didn't pay attention to how bad he was in the ring. It's only when you look back now as an adult and you think, that aside from
wrestling, he wasn't very good. Yeah.
But you didn't take that in as a kid.
No.
You see the face paint, you see the colours, you see the energy, you see him running to the ring.
It's just what we were saying about it's the same as Hogan, because growing up Hogan was mine. Ultimate Warrior was my brother's favourite, but technically, as much as a lot of people give Hogan credit for sort of not creating the WWF, but certainly putting wrestling on a platform. Technically, he wasn't a very good wrestler.
No,
and he was a jobber, but he was a basic set of moves and a big boot and a leg drop. He really lost. Yeah.
Ultimate Warrior and Hulk Hogan are two prime examples. It's funny how their careers overlapped, and that one passed the torch to the other, and who passed it back in the end. That they, you know, their careers actually did conflict, because they are two prime examples of there's more than being a good wrestler in the wrestling business. In fact, your look, the way you behave, you know, your character is worth so much more than what you do in the ring.
Well, these two as well. What we was talking about earlier about guys on the mic, Warrior. I mean, some of the stuff he used to come out with on the mic. And Hogan was great on the mic, and that was one of the things. I think the energy of the pair of them. Yeah. I think the kids in the 80s and 90s just bought into it, didn't they? So. Yeah.
I mean, I think back in the night, I mean, you can tell in the 90s that was more of a time where wrestlers, like someone put a camera in their face. It's like, you know, you say what you want to say. Here's roughly where we want to get to.
Whereas now a lot of it's kind of, this is what we want you to say.
You know, like if I don't believe what I'm hearing from them because somebody else told them to say it, I ain't buying it. Do you know what I mean? That's how I feel about it.
Well, that's good stuff, mate. Thanks for coming in.
Yep.
We're going to obviously do a video on we're going to do a video on the Hasbro figures. Some of your collection. Here's obviously some of Chris's collection here. Some great bits here. Some elites and that. We'll do a video on Hasbro's, and we're going to do a video on the Jakks and the Mattel figures as well. You're going to bring some of your bits in. Obviously, there's a few little bits here, and we'll have a little chat about the toys. We'll do a little 5-minute video. Not say reviews as such, but we'll talk about what's good about them, what's bad about them. Thanks for watching, guys. Obviously, if you've got any comments, leave them below. Don't forget, first person to comment who wants the little Dusty Rhodes mini Funko figure, you can have it. Don't forget to subscribe. See you in the next video.
See ya.